I got it. Or do I need to log out and then
Yeah, you need to
No, you don't have to log out.
log
It's
out.
going to
Just-
come up in just a moment.
Oh, cool. So I don't have to touch it, Zoe?
Nope.
That's great.
You should see the presentation now. We are now recording. Mayor, may I begin?
You may.
This is Zoe Burgess, your city clerk. This meeting of April 11, 2022 of the regular city council is being held with a quorum of City of Westlake Council physically in attendance at the Westlake Council Chambers at 4005 Seminole Pratt Whitney Road. Public comments may be accepted prior to the meeting utilizing the electronic comment card available on the city's website. Public comments are also permitted at the appropriate time during the meeting. The mayor will call for such during public comment, and you may participate at this time utilizing the system's virtual hand feature and waiting to be acknowledged. Please note this meeting is being recorded, both voice and video, and to remember your mic may be live. I will mute any microphones that carry any feedback or interruptions. If you are a caller that has been muted, you may unmute yourself by pressing *6. Any person in the virtual meeting causing a disruption or being inappropriate will be removed. If I may also remind those physically in attendance, please utilize microphones so the virtual audience and a clear recording of the meeting is produced. Thank you. Mayor O'Connor?
6:33 p.m. I'd like to call to order the city council meeting. Monday, April 11th. Can I get a roll call?
Councilman Langowski?
Present.
Councilman Martinez?
Present.
Councilwoman Vayuron?
Present.
Mayor O'Connor?
Present.
We have a quorum.
Let's all stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now, additions, deletions, modifications. We do have one addition. As per our charter, we need to assign the vice mayor role at this meeting. I do have a resolution in order to do so, and I just need a motion to add it to the agenda.
Motion to add it to agenda?
Yep. The
appointment of vice mayor and
Appointment of vice mayor.
the consideration of a resolution.
The appointment of vice mayor
Consideration of a resolution.
and the consideration of the resolution.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Vayuron, seconded by Councilman Martinez. Roll call. Councilman Langowski?
Yes.
Councilman Martinez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vayuron?
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now, can we just put that under new business?
Where would you like it, sir? Yes, sir.
Let's do it in new business, item E. Excellent.
And now a motion to approve the agenda as amended, Mayor.
Make a motion to approve the new agenda?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Martinez, seconded by Councilwoman Vayuron. Roll call. Councilman Martinez?
Yes.
Councilwoman Vayuron?
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilman Langowski?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, moving on to public comments and requests. This section of the agenda allows for comments from the public to speak. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes to comment. The public comment card should have been completed and returned to the city clerk. When you're called to speak, please go to the podium, unmute your device. Prior to addressing the council, state your name and address for the record. I took care of that for you, Zoe.
Thank you. Mayor, I received no previous comment cards. However, we'll give the virtual audience a moment to raise their virtual hand. If you wish to make a comment, please raise your virtual hand or unmute your device, state your name and address. We have no comments, Mayor.
All right. Being that there's no comments, we move forward to the consent agenda. Section of the agenda consists of routine administrative items that are required by final approval by the City Council and may be approved in its entirety by a single motion. There will be no discussion of these items unless City Council member requests such, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered on a future agenda. Do we have some comments on the consent agenda amongst the council?
I do not, but I'll make a motion to approve the financial report.
Anybody else?
Respectfully, if I might, you can do
Approve
it.
the Consent agenda.
Yes, sir.
Okay, makes it simple. Motion to approve that.
Second.
We have a motion to approve consent agenda by Councilman Langowski, seconded by Councilwoman Vayuron. Roll call. Councilwoman Vayuron.
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Langowski.
Yes.
Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Excellent. Moving on to public hearing section. We have first thing in under public hearing is ordinance 2022-01. It's a second reading of the adoption of ordinance 2022-01.
Yes, sir. An ordinance by title only, an ordinance of the City Council, City of Westlake, Florida, adopting an amendment to its comprehensive development plan in accordance with the mandates set forth in section 163-3184 Florida statutes. They add and adopt a private property rights element, providing for transmittal to the state land planning agency, providing for conflict severability, authority to codify, and providing for an effective date.
We have a presentation.
Good evening, Osnian Leon with the City of Westlake. Before you is the second reading and adoption of ordinance 2022-01. The LPA and City Council first hearing approved the ordinances on January 18th and February 14th, respectively. The proposed amendment is required due to new legislative mandates effective July 1st, 2021, in particular House Bill 59. Growth management requires all local governments to have property rights element included in their comprehensive plan. The legislation modified Chapter 163.3177 of the Florida statutes to add property rights element as one of the required elements in all comprehensive plans. The legislation also limits the ability to adopt any other comprehensive plan amendments initiated after July 1st from being adopted until the property rights element is adopted. There are no inconsistencies identified with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. The proposed amendment meets a legislative requirement and is in compliance with Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes. The staff recommends approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any comments from council on this item?
No. No comments.
In that case, can I get a motion?
Sir, if you would, this has been advertised for a public hearing. If you'd open that.
May I, going to open up for public comment on this item only.
Mayor, I received no previous comment cards. We'll give the virtual audience a moment to raise their virtual hand. If you wish to make a comment, please state your name, unmute your device, or press *6 if you've been muted. Mayor, we have no public comments.
Okay, being that there are no public comments, I can entertain a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance 2022-01.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Vayuron, seconded by Councilman Langowski. Roll call. Mayor O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Langowski.
Yes.
Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Vayuron.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we're moving on to the public hearing section, which is quasi judicial. I believe we need to swear in anybody who's going to testify on this item.
Yes, sir. All those individuals going to testify for this application, please stand, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please proceed.
Thank you. Start with A, MSP-2021-07.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council Member, Nilsa Zacharias, Planning and Zoning Director for the City of Westlake. The application that is in front of you today is the Christ Fellowship Master Signage Plan. The Christ Fellowship structure church was approved in 2019, and it's a one-story, 38,155 square feet of worship center. So tonight is in front of you requesting approval for signage. And also the signage application include 9 waivers. As you recall, Christ Fellowship was approved on December 9, 2019, and included 38,155 square feet of worship center and also 25,000 square feet of future development. Back in December 2021, the Christ Fellowship was in front of council requesting an approval to reduce decorative pavers. And then tonight, the applicant is requesting the signage. So all those previous applications did not include signs. So this is the first time that the applicant is in front of council requesting an approval for signage. So the applicant is requesting 9 waivers. The first waiver is with regard to the number of signs. The code allows 1 sign for a building. So in this case, the applicant is requesting a total of 4 signs fronting the south, the west, and the east. So basically, there are 3 additional signs on this building. So that is 1 waiver. And we'll go one by one. Also, the south elevation is requesting a waiver because it's including 2 messages, the logo and the actually Christ Fellowship letterings. So the code allows for 1 wall sign or message per building. So in this case, we have 2, the logo and the text. Another waiver is the square footage of the signs. The applicant is proposing 106 square feet, and the code allows only 90 square feet. So that's another waiver from the code. The second sign that is on the south elevation is the Christ Fellowship Kids. So the height is 4 feet in height, and the code allows only 3 feet. So that's another waiver. On the west elevation, we have also 3 type of waivers. With regard to the height, the applicant proposed a 4 feet in height, and the codes only allow 3 feet. Again, we have 2 messages, which is the logo and the text. And then we also have the square footage of the signs, where the applicant proposes 144.37, and the codes only allows 90 square feet. On the east elevation, we also have the same type of waivers with regard to the height and the presence of the logo and the text itself. The applicant is also proposing a monument sign. The monument sign is in accordance with the code and is not applying for it's not requesting a waiver. So this application was reviewed by Planning and Zoning and Engineering Department, and staff recommend approval, and there's no conditions. Mr. Hearing.
Good evening, council members. For the record, Donaldson Hearing here tonight on behalf of Christ Fellowship Church. Mr. Abdallah was not able to make it this evening, but wanted me to send his regards. Hopefully you all have seen the church facility under construction now and starting to move forward. The walls are starting to come up, so I know it's exciting. It's hard to believe looking back that it was 2019 heading into the pandemic, and now I'm just glad it's 2022 and we're far past that. And that was why it's taken so long for the church to get moving, since the pandemic left so much uncertainty. But we're really excited to seeing everything move forward. As we mentioned to you at our last meeting when we looked at the master signage plan for the Westlake warehouse, is that your code was specifically designed to encourage master signage plans to provide for the flexibilities that an applicant can request relating onto the site's, the specific conditions of a site itself. So you're aware of the location here on the site, located in Pod J, adjacent to Ilex to the north and Seminole Pratt, Ilex to the east and Seminole Pratt Whitney to the west. And so here is the site on the screen, and it's important to note that the requests are justified. That this site has basically three frontages. We have a frontage to the south on a fairly significant roadway, to the east on Ilex, and then on the west on Seminole Pratt Whitney. And then also to point out that the building maintains a fairly substantial setback from each of those boundaries. So that really relates to the signage, the size, and the location, and where it's requested for the purposes of identity, because it's a fairly large site, as you're aware. So these are the elevations. I'll go through them just one by one quickly. On the bottom here, you could see basically what we're looking at as being the south elevation of the site. Christ Fellowship is very careful to really clearly articulate the building entryways. So the entryway that's located furthest to the west, which is the one that's enlarged on the screen, is the main entrance to the sanctuary, and the entrance that's furthest to the east, or there on the right, is the entrance to the kids and the young adult section. And so try to provide very clear identity for somebody coming into the site, visitors, that they know exactly where they need to go, feel comfortable. Hey, that's where my kids go. That's where the sanctuary goes. So we're very clean, simple messaging. The logo is Christ Fellowship's logo that they use on all of their campuses. And then it just simply says Christ Fellowship Church with it's all one message in my interpretation of the code, but it does contain a logo and text that are together. So in this particular case, the logo is 6 feet. And the overall signage is 107 square feet, so just slightly over the 90 square feet. But as you can see on the building, and if you've been out there and looked at the scale of the building, it's very much so in context with the scale of the building. So it seems, very much so in harmony, and really the appropriate smaller text would end up being, seeming to be very, very small. In fact, the text of the letters here themselves are only about 18 inches. It's just there's two lines of text, and then the lower text of which basically says church. Then the second sign on the southern elevations is basically where it says kids. And this is less than what is required by or allowed by the code. It's relatively small in total size, but it is 4 feet in height. So it exceeds the standard code. Again, the deviations are encouraged by way of the master sign plan, but it exceeds the standard code by 1 foot. But very playful, very fun, and again, you can see it's in scale and appropriate with the building itself. This is just on the top. Look on the bottom, you see the full elevation that's on the facing to the west or facing towards Seminole Pratt. There's a secondary entrance there to the right, which leads to the sanctuary, which you have the little where all the glass is. And then on the building, this is where we're looking to put a sign that faces Seminole Pratt. Of course, we've got the 90-foot Rural Parkway landscaping, so it's fairly dense landscaping that's there. And the building is set back several hundred feet from Seminole Pratt Whitney. So here the logo is 7.2 feet. Still, the letters here are not much over 18 to 20 inches in height. Total square footage is 54 feet above what the standard code would provide. But if you look at the scale and the appropriateness as the location on the site, you can see that it makes sense. And then similarly on Ilex, we've gone a little smaller in size. This is the view as you were looking at it from Ilex. This is a 5-foot sign, and the actual total signage is just over what the requirement of the code is. So With that, we would request your approval. But again, the master signage program is encouraged. We do not have a monument sign on the site. There is one, the pod entry identification sign like we have on Seminole Pratt, which will be out there, but no other monument signs are being proposed on the site. So very clean, very simple messaging, consistent with Christ Fellowship's brand on all the campuses that they have. And with that, we'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. This is the monument sign out on the corner.
When may we get, first of all, thank you. I think even with the requested variations, it's done very tastefully, especially considering the setback. Certainly approved larger, so I have no qualms with that. What, on another topic, when might I see like a actual site plan with the parking lot area and everything?
I can get you when the site plan was approved. Here's a black and white version of it right here.
Have there been any changes?
Not since what you approved in December of this year. And the only change was if you recall, we refined the design of the pavers at the front entrance.
Right.
And that was and made a couple of changes of the windows on the elevations. And that was really all that was done in December.
If
So
you could send me,
I'd be happy
your
to.
fancy elevations with all the.
With all my
3D
color and
modeling
stuff.
all that
Yeah,
cool stuff
be
that
more
you
than
have.
happy to.
I would love to see that.
Andrew, if you just take a note of that, so I don't forget to get that, I'll send that through Mr. Castle, and get it really is beautiful.
Do we have any questions or comments from council?
No, no.
For Christ Fellowship?
My comment is, nicely done.
Thank you very
I like
much,
the look
sir.
of it. The colors go really well with the building.
I
There
agree.
you go, shows.
I agree.
Everything Christ Fellowship does is excellent. I mean, it's
Excited.
very, very well done. Landscaping really is beautiful, but everything that they do from top to bottom is done with excellence. So they'll be a great asset to this community.
Yes.
I think they'll make
Looking
a
forward for it.
wonderful addition to Westlake.
Could I request, Mayor, respectfully, that if anybody had an ex parte communication regarding this item, that they announce it for the record, please?
Sure.
I have not.
I also have not.
Have not.
I have not.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a
Well,
motion.
let's open it for public comment.
Please.
Okay.
Mayor, I received no previous comment cards. We'll give the virtual audience a moment to raise their virtual hand. If you wish to make a comment, please state your name and address. If you've been muted, please press *6 to speak.
This is really bad.
Mayor, I see no comments.
Right, let's entertain a motion.
Yeah. Motion to approve MSP 2021-07 Christ Fellowship Master Signage Plan.
Second.
I'd like to second.
Could I get a clarification for the record that,
Including the 9 waivers?
yes, sir.
Okay.
That was it.
Including the 9 waivers.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion by Councilman Langowski, seconded by Councilman Martinez. Roll call. Mayor O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilman Langowski,
Yes.
Councilman Martinez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vayuron.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and Council. Look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you, Don. Thank you,
Thank
Nilsa.
you.
Thank you, Christ Fellowship. All right, moving on to new business. Item number A, this is a discussion of applying Happy Program Cap to Federal Housing Administration, FHA limits and V8 standards. This is actually something that I asked to bring forward. What's been going on in terms of our Happy Program is we have a certain cap on the dollar amount that we're allowed to loan out. You know, the homes have to be under a certain cap. But we seem to always be behind the 8 ball because what happens is the FHA, you know, the housing market's out of control right now. The FHA, and who this program is really intended to help, first-time buyers, people trying to get into their first homes and whatnot. Well, FHA will raise their guidelines, but it takes an act of the council in order to raise our cap. So in the past, I made the motion when I was vice mayor to raise it to where it is now, but we're always chasing the guideline. What I recommend is rather than having a static amount, you know, a fixed amount that has to go before council to change, that we make it a dynamic amount, something that's already tethered to the FHA guidelines. So if the FHA raises, it doesn't take an act of council in order to raise the cap. If for whatever reason the housing market changes and the FHA lowers, then our cap will automatically lower. And furthermore, in addition, this is the last housekeeping item we need for my veterans program that will tie into Happy Funds. I'd like it additionally for veterans only to be tethered to the VA loan guidelines, because that's who they're going to be using for their loan. So that's my opinion. Otherwise, always got to come in front of council, and we're always behind, and there's good people that we could potentially have been getting into homes that we haven't been able to because we're behind on the, it takes an act of council to change the cap.
The cap being 20,000 or the
No,
cap being
no, capping the cost of the
425,000?
home.
Okay.
Cap on the home.
So I
Cap on
believe
field,
right
sorry.
now, and don't quote me on it, I believe the FHA guideline is a 460.
It's 460.
Okay.
Within
We're at
that number,
425,
We're
right?
at
we're at 425. So FHA wants first-time buyers to be at 460, but
Right.
we're only helping people up to 425.
How often do they change their?
I tell you, when I made that motion to make it 425, it was 460 like the next day. I was working on an older thing, but it was within 90 days or so, within 30 days. It was quick.
Mhm.
When I researched it and I went to go make the motion, by the time I made it, got back, it was already higher. So it was that quick. And then we couldn't change it again until the next meeting, which we never did, because I've been working on trying to make it a way to be dynamic. So basically, it'll come in front of the council less as the cap from the FHA guidelines raise, as will our happy.
And what were we saying about the veterans, about tying it?
Oh, so in terms of the veteran program, we're not working. We've instituted a program to tie in.
We added the veterans because they weren't.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
Now they can't double dip. They can't get both the Hometown Heroes and the VA.
Mhm.
So if you're an active veteran, that's the Hometown Heroes covers that. But if you're not active, we had nothing that took care of our veterans. So it was very important to me back when I was vice mayor and now that we did something to support our veterans. Now, the only difference would be I want their happy loans to be tethered to the VA standard, because that's who they're going. They're not going through FHA. They're going to be going through the VA. Now, I don't know exactly what that number is.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what the difference is between.
It's not much. It's within, but that's who they're going to be using for their loan.
Okay, no, it makes sense for them to follow their guidelines and us to follow FHA, and we don't have to bring it up every meeting.
Exactly. It makes things easier on us, and it keeps the city from being behind and saying no to good people. So,
Question. What's the amount that we have in the bank right now for that?
Currently, we're about 2.9.
We need to spend.
Right now.
We need to spend.
Right now, at our present rate, we can help about 145 different individuals. And that's been the part is some people have been coming in
Under.
just over the, would qualify otherwise, but their housing prices, 25 grand, 30 grand over our limit, which knocks them out of the program. So this would allow us to help more people and do what the intent of the project was originally, is to get first-time buyers into homes, to get them into the process.
when I made the motion to make it 425, that wasn't a magic number. I took that right from the FHA guideline. So this is, in essence, is the same thing. It's just doing it dynamically versus us having to make a decision when we meet once a month.
I think that's a very good idea.
Okay, is this a consensus from council item, or do we need a motion?
Oh. No, sir, that would be, we've got a consensus. We'll bring back the paperwork at the next meeting. Make sure you formally adopt it.
Excellent. Great, thank you, guys. All right. Item B, appointment request, Palm Beach County TPA Technical Advisory Committee. This is something I've also been working on behind the scenes. We really need, City of Westlake really needs representation on the Transportation Planning Authority. We've got a lot of transportation needs and roadway needs, and we haven't had a true representative. We've had, people attending the meetings and keeping us abreast of what's going on, but we haven't had somebody specifically on that board. I've got them to say that all we need to do is formally request. that one of us be on the board. I would like that to be me with whomever the vice mayor be the alternate. And I hope the council agrees, but that's open for discussion. It's,
That sounds fair.
They meet on Wednesdays. I believe it's the first Wednesday of every month. I would attend the meetings, represent the city, and then come back and report.
I think that's good.
Yes.
We in agreement?
Yes.
Mayor, if you could entertain a motion to appoint the mayor and vice mayor to be appointed, to be designated as members to the Palm Beach County Transportation Planning Agency.
I'll entertain
And also, I'm sorry,
Sure, of course.
and to prepare a resolution and authorize you to sign the resolution evidencing those appointments.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to appoint the mayor and the vice mayor to the TPA's TAC committee as a member and alternate, and to draft the resolution appoint in doing so, in
Yes, sir.
affirming so.
Is there a motion?
Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Consent. Second.
I have a motion by Mayor O'Connor, seconded by Councilwoman Valiaron. Roll call, Councilman Martinez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Valiaron,
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor,
Yes,
Councilman Langowski.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
thank you all. All right, item C, this is for council group number 3, my vacant seat appointment. We actually have a workshop scheduled to discuss this and go through all the applications
19.
on the 19th, and then we'll do the actual appointment at the following meeting, but it's on our agenda today, so
I'd vote to make a motion to table this until the following meeting in May, after we have our council workshop on the 19th,
exactly,
because we'll be interviewing everybody.
perfect, makes sense. I need a second.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Langowski, seconded by Councilman Martinez. Roll call, Councilwoman Valiaron,
Yes.
Mayor O'Connor,
Yes,
Councilman Langowski.
Yes.
Councilman Martinez.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
all right. Item D is something that I requested, and I'm going to preface this by saying my colleagues on the council don't know how great they have it. So what this item is right now our wonderful city attorney is our interim city attorney. We had a different city attorney before you fine folks joined the council, and things weren't as smooth and wonderful as they are now. You're very lucky that this is the only experience you've had, because I'm so pleased with our interim city attorney that if they're willing, I would love to make them our permanent city attorney. I love the report we get every single Friday. I love knowing exactly what's going on. I love how efficiently things get done. Responsiveness, and I want to thank you very, very much for all of that.
Thank you, Mayor.
That's not something we had before.
Thank you.
I
That
agree.
being said, I would love to make our interim city attorney, and let's drop the interim from the front of their title.
Mayor, I would recommend that the motion be to drop the interim from the attorney's contract, and all other terms and conditions of the contract would remain the same.
Sounds wonderful to me.
Okay, make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Motion by Councilman Langowski, seconded by Councilman Martinez. Roll call, Mayor O'Connor,
Yes, absolutely.
Councilman Langowski.
Yes.
Councilman Martinez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Valiaron.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, and thank you.
Thank you.
It's been absolutely amazing. Thanks for all your hard work. All right, finally, we have item E, which is per our charter. This is something dear to my heart because I was the vice mayor. Per our charter, the vice mayor position is not an elected position. It gets appointed and decided amongst ourselves once a year at the first meeting in April. That's what our charter states. I know we're one person short, but it just is what it is. We need to decide amongst ourselves who the vice mayor is going to be. And then next year, we can do this again, and it can be the same person, it can be a different person, it's whatever the council decides. My personal opinion, and this is solely based on advanced years of experience in leadership. I think Greg would make a wonderful vice mayor. He's definitely got the wherewithal and would serve us well. That's my opinion. It's up for discussion. I can't make the motion, but if you're willing, I think.
I'm willing, yes, but I'm not making a motion.
I think you would
I think that's
make an excellent vice mayor and do wonderful by Westlake.
Appreciate that.
I would say the same thing. I'd like to make a motion for Ms. Langowski to be our vice mayor for the following year.
And I second.
Excellent.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Councilman Martinez,
Yeah.
seconded by Councilwoman Bayron. Roll call, Mayor O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilman Langowski,
Yes.
Councilman Martinez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bayron.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
You need to move over, Chair.
Yep. Next meeting. I left a message.
Yes, but-
That's my
The
personal.
mayor
We've
has
got
expanded
all our
his
stuff here.
territory ain't allowed. You have to rein you in a little bit, Mr. Mayor.
Congratulations, Vice Mayor.
Congratulations, Greg.
All right. Great. Moving right along. City Council comments. Vice Mayor Langowski.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your confidence, and I look forward to serving you and the council and the city of Westlake. And that's all I have for this one.
Congratulations, Greg.
Councilman Martinez.
I don't have any comments this evening. Greg, congratulations. Thank you again.
Councilwoman Bayron.
Well, we are looking forward for this group to succeed. We're going to succeed and we're going to do great things this new year.
Excellent. I'll be brief in closing. I want to thank all of my colleagues on the council. This is we're moving the city in the right direction and really making moves, and we're doing wonderful things, and it's going to show. We're going to have real tangible results, things that we can see, and I want to thank you. Thank staff. Staff does a wonderful job. We're figuring out our groove and figuring out our rhythm, and we're getting it done. In terms of my veteran program, we are one step further to really making it live, and that's going to be great. We're going to be able to help a lot of servicemen get into homes. And finally, congratulations, Mr. Vice Mayor. That I had the pleasure of being the Vice Mayor of Westlake, and I couldn't think of a better person for that seat to go to. So, thank you. Staff report. Do we want to start with Sheriff's Office or?
You have in your,
Captain Turner, you want to
Captain
say
Turner's annual report, Captain?
anything? We've got you on here.
You snuck in the door. I wasn't looking at you. Did you use the back? Did you sneak in the back door or something?
That's never mind. No, I came right in the front. Right at 6:30 when you were changing over, so your head was down the whole time. All right, I want to start with a couple things we've been doing lately before we get into this annual report, because I know a lot of the issues we have right now are traffic related in front of the high school. So I met last week with Principal Hatcher and the school board police department to go over some of the issues we have out here. Principal Hatcher is very proactive in curbing some of the problems we've had. A lot of the issues were related to the bus loop and kids that have to stay later in the school day because the buses go out and do one route, then they come back and pick them up 45 minutes later or so, and they go back and drop them off after. So the kids have nothing to do for 45 minutes, so they come over and hang out in the 7-Eleven over here, causing some of the issues, getting into fights, and some other things that have happened. He was very positive about stopping that, and he did, from as much as I know, well, he's curbed it greatly. He does not allow those students to leave the campus of the school. They have to stay over in the bus loop area waiting for the buses. If they leave the campus, he does not allow them to come back on campus and get on the buses. So causing parents to come pick them up or walking. So from what I've heard over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, things have gotten better out here. And we've also had additional motormen and deputies in the area for the past 2 weeks to really hit the parents with where the proper way to drop the kids off is on the side of the street, and not allowing U-turns where they're not supposed to allow them, and some other issues that we're having with that. It's still a work in progress, but I think him being on board has really helped us get the parents and the students in line with what we want them to do. With that being said, we have a follow-up meeting Thursday with the mayor, myself, and Mr. Castle, and the principal Hatcher, and some of their crew over there, to kind of iron out whatever issues we still have left. So hopefully that goes well. And with that being said, I know you're looking at our report and you're thinking it's going to be exciting and lots of good stuff in here, but this is more boring than listening to a plot get talked about for 20 minutes. So no offense, right? All right. So can we go to the next slide, please? Maybe. Or do I go to the next slide?
I can do it for you.
Oh, sorry about that. I didn't realize it was working up here. Table of contents. We'll run through that pretty quick, but you're going to see everything. Your deputies over the last year have not changed. You have the same 5 deputies, which helps my concept in Westlake of being more of a community policing type site. They're supposed to be driving through your areas. They're supposed to be talking to the residents, making connections with everybody so they feel comfortable with the deputies that are here, and it makes things easier when stuff does go bad, that those relationships are in place. So it really helps us and helps the area. There's no plan on any movement happening with that right now. I do have an additional lieutenant that came on board, replacing my last one. He will be here for the next meeting. I think he stepped in for one last month, so you did have a chance to talk to him. But he will be here long term. So if anything happens with me getting pulled away for something, he will be here, and he'll be able to assist with anything you need. All right, next slide. All right, annual numbers. You literally had one person's crime that happened in the entire year. So you went from 2 to 1. And that was a sexual assault, which was a minor that had a sexual encounter with somebody that was over the age of 18. That was a friend of the family, and that was a consensual encounter, but still illegal. And that's something that's being worked with through the state attorney's office. Your construction burglaries, I'm going to break that down shortly for you in a little more in depth, but that is your other concern as of right now. But over the year of 2021, you had 10 total business or construction burglaries that occurred. You can see all your numbers down below have increased. Your arrests have increased, your citations, your CAD incidents, which is basically anytime a deputy goes out with a call, whether it's self-initiated or called into the sheriff's office, that gets listed as what you call a CAD instance. And it went from just over 23 to a little bit over 24 this year. So your deputies are going around checking your construction sites, which you're going to see shortly too, where a lot of the traffic stops are initiated and where they're happening is in your construction site areas. So the deputies are coming through and they're trying to stop people and see what's happening. But as you see in the map that's going to come up shortly, it's a little bit difficult because they're not all happening in the same locations. They're actually fairly spread out in your construction site, since you have 4 or 5 different areas that are being built up at the same time. Any questions on this slide? All right, next one. All right, calls for service pretty much stay the same. 95% of what these deputies do is self-initiated. They drive around. If they see somebody that seems a little suspicious, or if they're wanting to check on houses or walk around and check businesses, that's all their self-initiated activity. Traffic stops, checking out with people, and anytime they really walk around a perimeter of your pool or your businesses or anything, that's falls under self-initiated. 5% of the calls, again, is ones where they're actually called by 911 or the non-emergency line to come out and assist with the situation. So, which is good. Next slide. All right, persons crimes. We just explained that one. We had 2 last year. We're down to 1 this year. Next slide. All right, your construction burglaries. I'm going to show a map to this shortly, but your construction burglaries, if we could actually focus on something that's being taken or a certain portion of the neighborhoods that are actually getting hit, that's a good thing. But the issue we're having is out of your 10 construction burglaries that happened last year, one of them had some electrical wiring taken from a closet. Two of them had water heaters. One had some drywall compound. One had light fixtures. One had a microwave. One had plywood. One had a garage door opener. And I think there's two that had faucets. So literally, there's no pattern here of what's being taken or locations that they're being taken from.
Actually, somebody was building an
Yeah.
addition.
Yeah, exactly.
What's happening?
Pretty much. So they're spreading the love to all kinds of different stuff in the houses. So usually they come in and you see switch boxes or you see certain things that are taken out of the houses, but it's crazy. And here we're not having that. It's a little of everything. Next slide. And this kind of shows where your burglaries are happening. They're spread out pretty decent. Where you have 3 that happen in one area, 4 that happen in another area, and 3. Actually, it's not even in that area. I think that's where the call came into, but the burglaries weren't even at that location. So if somebody that works here called it in and met there, that's where it's going to show up. But I'm sure those were further back in the developments. Next slide. Property crimes, again, you had 3 stolen vehicles in 2020 and only 1 in 2021. And I believe that was related to one of the construction sites also.
So none of those vehicles were recovered.
I'm sure they were actually, but I'll check on that. Pretty much 80% of the vehicles that are stolen or trailers that are taken, and I believe in that case it was trailers, so they might not have been. What's that? One of your trailers, yeah. Then a lot of times those aren't recovered. So I'll find out for you, and I can get you that answer.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Next slide. All right, and that one was taken from that area, which I believe is that your over 55 community.
Yes.
And then, so yeah, we really don't have a lot to go with on it, but next slide. All right, thefts and vandalisms, you went down from 6 to 4, and vandalism stayed the same, 2 to 3. So basically 1 every 3 months. Next slide. That's a map of where those happen. So again, it's spread out pretty decent. Next slide. Accidents. Here's the big thing. Crashes went from 39 to 47. A majority of those were on Seminole Pratt Whitney, of course. You do have some that have happened in your neighborhood, like Ken knows very well. A couple people decided they don't know what a roundabout is and drove through it. And you've had some other areas where fencing or other things were hit inside your community. So you'll see in a second where those are occurring at, but most of them are occurring on Seminole Pratt Whitney. So next slide. As you can see, the red is very high volume. And you have some that happen back in your construction areas. And then that one section that says District 18, I believe, is where your roundabout is, where you have that moderate area. You've had multiple crashes there. Any questions? All right, traffic citations. All the traffic activity has gone up. 2020, they were a little bit lenient. We weren't making as many stops with COVID and all the other issues that we had. So as you can see, the following year, the numbers went up pretty decent of how many stops that were actually made and then how many warnings or citations were written. The sheriff's office had a stance of educating people and warning them as soon as the pandemic was over and people were moving around a lot because everybody was driving crazy. That didn't seem to help a lot. So more citations have been issued. This is something that we've seen across the board agency-wide, is that there's a lot more accidents. There's a lot more people speeding, careless, reckless driving. Highways are real bad. And I think FHP put a report out, said they've had the most citations issued for going over 100 miles an hour in their history in a year. So people are just driving crazy. So we've been putting it out to our deputies. I have traffic plans in effect, which include Seminole Pratt, Whitney, a couple other areas, Orange and Seminole Pratt. We have some issues, and down on Southern Boulevard, where we're really hitting those areas, targeting speeders and careless drivers. And that's going to continue as long as I can see until things start to slow down, literally. Next slide. Arrests and NTAs. There were 30 total arrests within the city. 5 of those were either for person or property crimes. So as you can see, there's a domestic related, a larceny, 2 larcenies, a shoplifting, and verbal threats that were made. And next slide. These are the other 25. It just spread out a little. Most misdemeanors should be a whole slew of things from not leaving and being after they were told to leave, trespassing on property, minor damage to items. Traffic stops is usually for a license related issue or driving a car that's not registered, those kind of offenses. And we've come across 7 people that had active warrants. Next slide. All right, that's it.
In terms of the I was reading a report and there was like 2 vandalizations at the adventure park. Ultimately, they were trespassed. I don't think any of them resulted in an arrest.
Right. Well, we had 2 actually, I think at the water park. Are you talking the water
Yeah,
park?
that's-
Yes, we had 2 that were at the water park. We actually made contact with the parents of the kids. This was actually early last year. There was good video of the kids that actually jumped in and they went into the pool area. And is that the one we're talking about? They went down the slide. Yeah, and we actually
I
talked.
don't know, it was in the report, the other report I read.
It's the last page.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, I know no arrests were made. They were ultimately trespassed. And that's private property, so it's really on them what they want to do. But is that something where you think an arrest could maybe send a message to stop vandalizing the adventure park?
Yeah, absolutely. Sooner or later, it's going to have to do that. We're going to have to do something about that. Honestly, kids are going to be kids. I hate saying that, but some kids that just want to go in and just go in and swim or something, yeah, get out of here, trespass them. If we're found again, then you arrest them. But I think at the time, I wasn't sure.
In a lock or something, there's like.
Well, I wasn't sure if there was an issue with the signage when we first had that issue with the fencing and everything, and that was fixed.
No trespassing.
Right, because I think that was one of the issues we had originally, but we did get in touch with the parents and they were very good about, telling the kids to stay out and all that. They were very on board with it, unlike some parents are, where they kind of, they don't get involved. But yes, when we have this, at some point, we are going to have to make an example of somebody that's trespassing or jumping onto some of your other properties that you're building right now.
Out that Westlake doesn't play. I hate to say let's lock up kids, but I'm going to say it. Let's lock up kids.
Well, and I honestly, I think we have to look at that as a case by case basis, though. I really do.
Report that, and I think it was this quarter's report or this month's report. The way I read it was like they came in, damaged a bunch of stuff, and then came back and damaged stuff again.
The one that we just gave you?
Yeah.
The monthly report?
Yeah, I was just reading it this morning.
Can I get with you afterwards on that? And
yeah, that's fine. There's 2 cases of vandalism. They were both at the Venture Park. There was no guarantee that it was the same party, but you thought it was the same party. I read it in the notes. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
yeah, let me, because that just came out and was just forwarded over here. So let me look at it with you and find out why. Because on something like that, if they were actually vandalized the property on purpose and they were still found on the property, there's no reason why they wouldn't have done that unless maybe someone from Westlake said we don't want to
cause damage to the park. There's no evidence to show the juveniles also caused damages to the restroom. So you couldn't say specifically, but then the event right before that, complainant stated for the past several days, unknown persons have been entering and vandalizing the restroom areas within the park. The complainant indicated the area is locked by electronic locks. However, due to a cable cut in the area, locks and CCTV were not working. I don't know. It's probably the same group.
But and like I said, I'd rather not take a very much time to go through it, but I will definitely sit down with you and figure out what actually happened.
This all happened between March 1st and March 3rd.
And they actually made contact with the kids in that?
They were all issued trespass warnings.
All right, let me find out. Because if we want to, then absolutely. If they were found to be vandalizing the property at the time, yeah, they should have, well, Ken should have been notified. I should have been notified if there was damage to the property. And that's something, I don't know, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I need to look at that because that must have got past me when they pushed out. It's a report that our analyst does, and it usually comes through me, but it's been going through the lieutenant. So apparently I need to come back and put myself back in the loop on it. But yeah, their process, if they find anybody that causes damage to any town, or I'm sorry, city property here, I'm supposed to be notified Ken, so I can notify Ken of any of that damage. And it must have been something that fell through. So let me work with you on it.
While we're a small and growing city, I'd love to get the message out now, not to mess with Westlake.
Absolutely.
Than to wait, until it becomes a problem. Let's be proactive instead of reactive. But otherwise, I think we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, there's not a lot to report. which is a good thing. It's a good problem to have. You want to come down and see my report I do to Locks Bros next week. So it'll be different, a little bit different.
Have you had any
Don't want us to
DUIs?
get there.
Sorry.
Have you had any DUIs in Westlake?
On the roadway, not here, not in the city, not like in the internal roadways. One on Seminole Pratt we did, yes. And we've had actually very few issues with your bar, the only bar that you have. Really, there haven't been any issues with anything on it. I haven't heard anything where the deputies are getting called for fights or called for any kind of activity where they're kicking people out. So, whoever's running the show over there is doing a good job. Yeah, usually we have some issue. Booney's just opened back up, so I'm sure I'll have issues with them. We'll see what happens, but it's actually clean in there. I went in there to check it out, and it looks nice.
You did a good job.
Yeah.
Good job. Well, the city is growing too, so
yeah.
it looks very good, the report, compared to 2020. Now 2021, the report looks amazing, and the cities keep growing.
Yeah, you probably have over 1,000 more residences since that report, and the crime in the city is still almost nothing.
Yeah.
That's where we want to keep it. And when we get there, we'll, as the city continues to grow, we'll see what the officers look like within the city, how many you have. And as you have some of your big projects, we'll make sure that it's staffed properly. Your 4th of July event that's coming up and some other events, we'll have the proper people there for all that stuff. So to make sure nothing gets out of hand, it's a great relationship we have so far. So, we'll keep it that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Captain. Chief.
Good evening, Philip Oliveri, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue District Chief. Congratulations on the new board members and the new positions. I was looking over your monthly report. Everything pretty much stays status quo. There's not much that changes here. The majority of the calls are always medical calls. You'll have little fluctuations there, vehicle accidents. I think last month there was 2, and actually 2 this month compared to 1 last month. So the sheriff's office obviously responds to a lot more for the non-injury vehicle accidents. We're only going to the ones with reported injuries or unknown injuries. Other than that, everything's been pretty good. Your overall calls, I think it was 21 last month and 20 this month. So all the guys are really happy over at the station. Beautiful station. You guys took care of us over there. So everything's looking good.
Awesome.
They still haven't let us use their grill.
You guys work that out amongst yourselves.
What about the gym? They have a nice gym.
Excellent. Thank you and thank the guys on our behalf.
Absolutely.
City Attorney's report.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. And I want to express appreciation on behalf of myself, Jacob Horowitz, and members of our firm for
Well deserved.
designating us as your city attorney on a permanent basis until you grow tired of us. One thing I've learned through my practice of law over the years, you can be a competent lawyer, you can be professional, you can be ethical, and you need to be all of those. But one of the most important things is you have to have the trust of your client. And we thank you for having the trust in us to designate as permanent lawyer. And we will endeavor every day to make sure that you trust us, and even more so every day with our legal abilities. And we look forward to growing with you and committed to the city of Westlake.
That's it. Well deserved. Mr. City Manager.
Not a lot, couple things. If you've noticed, Public's parking lot is about ready for their first layer of asphalt. They haven't gone vertical on the buildings yet, but they're moving forward. They're pouring footings and stuff at the storage site today. They're flying the roof in on Christ Fellowship. They delivered all the insulation for the roof today. So things are moving forward fast. I noticed the entrance off Town Center Parkway South is about ready for its first lift of asphalt off of Seminole Pratt, and everything is moving along really well.
Excellent. Thank you. Public comments.
Mayor, I received no previous comment cards. However, we'll give the virtual audience a moment to raise their virtual hand or unmute their device. Please state your name and address if you wish to make a comment. If you've been muted, please press *6. Mayor, we have no comments.
On that, 7:31 PM, I will adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, all.